My friends, every one of us wakes up each morning with a choice. A choice to stay the same or to grow. A choice to make excuses or to make progress. A choice to live in the shadow of what we were yesterday or to step into the light of who we could become tomorrow. Becoming your best self isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about showing up even when nobody's watching. It's about believing that where you start does not define where you finish. You see, life doesn't hand us our greatness. We earn it through effort, through discipline, through the small, quiet decisions we make every single day. When you choose to learn instead of complain, to build instead of blame, to stand tall instead of give up, that's where transformation begins. We all fall. We all fail, but the difference between those who rise and those who stay down is simple belief. Belief that you still have another move left. Belief that your story isn't done. Becoming your best self means taking responsibility, not just for what happens to you, but for how you respond. It means understanding that growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from courage. From the moments you choose to push forward when quitting feels easier. And so, my message to you is this: don't wait for permission to be great. Don't let doubt write your story. The world needs your best self, not tomorrow, not someday, but today, because when you decide to become your best self, you don't just change your life, you light a path for others to follow. Every day we wake up, we stand before a quiet moment of decision, one that often goes unnoticed. It's not about what the world will give us, but what we will give to ourselves. Growth is not something that happens by accident or luck. It's a deliberate act of choosing. We either choose to stay where we are, comfortable and unchanged, or we decide to move forward, uncertain yet determined. The truth is, improvement doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with fanfare or applause. It begins in the small corners of our daily life. When we decide to read instead of scroll, to listen instead of argue, to take that extra step even when our body says stop. Every little act of effort plants a seed of growth, one that may not bloom immediately, but over time transforms who we are. Many people wait for motivation to strike, believing that change will come when the timing feels right. But growth doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It grows in discomfort, in challenge, in the moments we least expect. The decision to grow is made in silence. When you push yourself to finish what you started, when you forgive someone even though it hurts, when you choose patience over pride, every choice you make is shaping you. It's writing the story of your future self. The days you choose to learn something new, to challenge an old belief, to confront your fears, those are the days that build your foundation for greatness. You may not see progress every day, but growth is like the sunrise. It happens slowly, quietly, until one day the light touches everything. We live in a world obsessed with perfection, the perfect image, the perfect job, the perfect life. Everywhere we look, we're told that success means never failing, never stumbling, never showing weakness. But the truth is, perfection is an illusion. It's a shadow we can chase for a lifetime and still never catch. What truly matters is persistence, the quiet, unshakable determination to keep going even when the results aren't visible, even when the world isn't watching. Becoming your best self is not about flawless performance, it's about consistent effort. It's waking up on the hard days and doing your best with what you have. It's showing up when you don't feel ready, giving your heart when you're tired, and believing in your purpose even when progress feels invisible. The most extraordinary people in the world aren't the ones who never fail, they're the ones who refuse to stop after they do. Persistence is what transforms struggle into strength. Every setback, every disappointment, every delay carries a lesson, a quiet opportunity to refine your character. When you stumble, persistence whispers, try again. When the path gets dark, persistence says, keep walking. When doubt creeps in, persistence reminds you that you've come too far to quit now. We often think that the people we admire have something we don't. More talent, more luck, more opportunity. But the truth is, what separates them isn't perfection, it's endurance. They failed, they struggled, they fell apart at times, but they never gave up on themselves. They understood that progress is not always loud or glamorous. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it hurts, but it always moves forward. When you stop demanding perfection from yourself, you begin to see growth differently. You realize that every imperfect step counts. Every day you persist, no matter how small the effort, you're building strength, resilience, and wisdom. You begin to appreciate the journey, not just the destination, because it's in the cracks, in the stumbles, in the imperfect moments that true growth takes root. Effort is the quiet architect of greatness. It doesn't always draw attention, and it rarely gets celebrated in the moment, but it builds everything that lasts. Behind every achievement, every story of success, there's a person who worked, who sacrificed sleep, comfort, and convenience for a dream that no one else could see. Effort is what separates potential from reality. It's the bridge between what we imagine and what we actually become. There are no shortcuts to excellence. No one wakes up one morning suddenly transformed into the best version of themselves. It's built brick by brick, day by day, through consistent, sometimes invisible labor. The small decisions matter. The choice to stay late and finish what you started, the choice to study when distraction calls, the choice to improve when it would be easier to settle. Every drop of sweat, every ounce of discipline contributes to a foundation that cannot be shaken. The world often celebrates outcomes, trophies, titles, recognition, but rarely does it celebrate the unseen effort that creates them. The early mornings when you push through exhaustion, the nights you questioned your purpose, the failures that taught you humility, those are the moments that define character. Greatness doesn't come from talent alone. Talent without effort is potential wasted. But effort, steady, deliberate effort, has the power to surpass natural ability every single time. Effort demands something deeper than motivation. Motivation fades. It comes and goes like the wind. Effort, on the other hand, comes from discipline, from the promise you make to yourself that you will not give less than your best, no matter the circumstance. It's not glamorous, and it's not always rewarding in the moment, but it shapes you from the inside out. Every time you give your best effort, you build trust with yourself. Trust that you are capable, that you can endure, that you can rise again and again. True growth happens in the grind, in the repetition, in the work that no one applauds. It happens when you keep showing up even when progress feels invisible. Because effort compounds, just like drops of water carving a canyon, your persistence leaves a mark over time. You might not notice the change day to day, but years later, you'll look back and realize that every single ounce of effort built something extraordinary. Failure is one of life's greatest teachers, though it rarely feels that way when we face it. In the moment, it hurts. It humbles. It shakes our confidence and tests our resolve. But if we look deeper, beyond the sting of disappointment, we find that failure is not an ending. It's an invitation to rise, to learn, to rebuild ourselves stronger than before. Every person who has achieved something meaningful has walked through the valley of failure. It is the unavoidable toll on the road to growth. When we fail, the world may whisper that we've reached our limit. It may tell us that we weren't good enough, smart enough, or strong enough. But that voice is wrong. because failure is never a measure of our worth. It's a moment that asks, will you stop here or will you try again? The people who rise after failure understand something powerful, that setbacks are not walls, but mirrors. They reflect who we are and reveal what we need to change. They show us what's missing, not so we can quit, but so we can improve. Think of every great story of triumph, None of them are without struggle. The athlete who lost before they won. The artist whose work was rejected before it was celebrated. The leader who faced defeat before they inspired others. Each of them met failure, not once but many times, and chose to stand again. That decision to rise, to believe there's another move left, is what separates the ordinary from the exceptional. Failure teaches resilience. It strips away illusion and forces us to confront our true strength. When everything goes right, it's easy to believe in yourself. But when you fall and still decide to keep going, that's when real confidence is born. You learn that you can endure, that you can adapt, that you can create something new out of what was broken. You discover that your value doesn't depend on success, but on your ability to rise after falling. Many people fear failure so deeply that they never take a chance at all. They choose safety over growth, predictability over potential. But playing it safe comes at a cost, the cost of never knowing what could have been. Those who embrace failure understand that every mistake brings a lesson, and every lesson brings progress. They stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what might I learn if I do? When you face failure, you have two choices: to let it define you or to let it refine you. The difference lies in perspective. One path keeps you trapped in regret, the other leads you toward wisdom. And with each failure you survive, you gain something far more valuable than success: the unshakable belief that no setback is final, that you have the strength to begin again. Responsibility is the foundation upon which every great life is built. It is the point where excuses end and growth begins. When you take responsibility, truly take it, you stop waiting for someone else to fix your problems, to recognize your worth, or to create opportunities for you. You begin to understand that your life is shaped not just by what happens to you, but by how you respond to it. That understanding is where real power lies. It's easy to blame others, circumstances, people, luck, timing. It's easier to say, I could have done better if only things were different. When we think like that, we hand away our power. We let life happen to us instead of happening through us. Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything that goes wrong is your fault. It means you have the ability to respond, to learn, to grow, to decide differently next time. That's what responsibility truly is, the ability to respond with purpose and courage. When you take responsibility for your actions, you stop being a passenger in your own life. You take the wheel. You begin to see that your choices, not your circumstances, determine your direction, even in hardship. You find strength because you're no longer focused on what's unfair. You're focused on what's possible. Responsibility shifts your mindset from victimhood to leadership. It gives you the clarity to see that every challenge is also a chance to prove your resilience, to refine your discipline, to define your values. Owning your life requires humility. It means admitting when you're wrong, acknowledging where you fell short, and choosing to grow from it instead of running from it. It's uncomfortable because it demands honesty. But the moment you stop pointing fingers, the moment you stop waiting for someone else to change, you discover freedom. You stop being controlled by what others think or do, and you start living by your own standard. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's liberation. It's saying, I am in charge of who I become. When you decide to become your best self, something remarkable happens. Your life begins to touch others in ways you may never even realize. Every act of growth, every decision to rise, every moment you choose courage over comfort creates a quiet ripple that extends far beyond you. Inspiration is contagious. It travels silently through your actions, your resilience, your kindness, and your consistency. You might not see it, but someone is always watching, learning, and finding hope in your example. Becoming your best self is not a selfish journey. It's an act of service. When you strive to live with purpose, when you choose integrity, when you overcome struggle without bitterness, you give others permission to believe they can do the same. People are not changed by lectures or speeches alone. They're changed by seeing what's possible. They're moved by authenticity, by seeing someone who has walked through pain and still chosen growth, someone who has faced doubt but refused to surrender. The world is filled with noise, people talking about change, about dreams, about what they will one day do. But true inspiration comes from action. It comes from living your values so fully that others can feel them, not just hear them. You become a living example of resilience, of hope, of perseverance. And sometimes, without even knowing it, you become the reason someone doesn't give up. You become proof that progress is possible, that struggle is survivable, that transformation is real. Inspiration multiplies through humility. You don't have to be perfect to inspire others. In fact, it's your imperfections, your scars, your honesty, your persistence that make you relatable. When you show others that you're still learning, still growing, still fighting, you remind them that they can too. You show them that greatness is not about being flawless, but about being faithful, faithful to your purpose, your growth, and your principles. So when you work on yourself, when you grow, when you heal, when you strive to do better, remember that it's not just about you. Your growth is a gift. Every step you take toward becoming your best self becomes a step that others can follow. You may never know whose life you've touched, whose spirit you've lifted, or whose hope you've restored, but your example will echo long after the moment passes. My friends, becoming your best self is not a single moment. It's a lifelong journey. It's not about reaching a destination where everything is perfect, but about walking a path where every step holds purpose. There will be days when you stumble, when the world feels heavy, when doubt whispers louder than hope. But in those moments, remember this: every small act of courage, every choice to rise again, brings you closer to the person you were meant to become. You are not defined by where you started. You are defined by your will to keep moving forward. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs the real you, the one who learns, who grows, who keeps showing up even when it's hard. Because when you commit to being your best self, you not only change your life, you give others a reason to believe that they can change theirs too. So stand tall. Keep striving. Keep believing in the power within you to evolve, to rise, and to lead by example. And when you look back years from now, you'll see that the journey itself, the effort, the struggle, the growth, was the reward all along. Keep becoming. Keep growing. Because your best self is not a destination. It's a promise you renew every single day.